And I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free.
Full house today. We got Todd Father in Cincinnati, ready to report on the next move from the Reds. Nah, he's doing actually a really cool thing later. Todd Father, what's up? I know I saw the flyer. You're going to go in depth on your home run derby experience tonight?
Pretty much. We're going to talk a lot about, the greatest things that happen here at Great American Ballpark, the greatest times in Cincinnati, and a lot of Q&A and giveaways here at the BetMGM, place here right across the street from Great American Ballpark. And it's going to be a fun time, man. Just had lunch here. It was great, of course. And working with my man Dave over here, we're having a good time and we're figuring everything out.
I love that. All right, so let's get right to some news here because then we're going to talk to Chris Sale in 10 minutes from now. So we'll get to the awards winners right off the jump.
He's charging the mound.
How shocked were you? Man, Tarik Skubal and Chris Sale. Oh, my goodness. Who saw this coming? Actually, though, before the season, you can make that case. But this was not like a thrilling awards announcement.
None of these awards have been thrilling so far. Everyone's kind of, it's all chalk, man. It's all been chalk this whole year. The only thing I'm disappointed when Chris comes on, I'm going to yell at him for not being unanimous like Skubal was. I'm going to ask him why he couldn't have won it unanimously.
Well, who do we know?
See, Wheeler got
names?
Some votes.
Wheeler got four.
Yeah. Skubal was unanimous. Wheeler had to get 4. So I'm going to get on Chris about that.
Do you see any case? Did anyone see any case for Wheeler? I mean, hey, let's go to our Philly expert. Did you see a case for Wheeler?
I mean, he did really well, but I don't know how you can't vote for the guy who won the Triple Crown for pitching. Like, it's like that's a real thing that doesn't happen. And not taking anything away from Zach Wheeler, maybe Zach Wheeler should have gotten all of the second place votes, but I don't know. I think this should have been anonymous or unanimous. Either way.
Well, no. But one Philly guy voted for Wheeler, Scott Lauber from the Philly Inquirer, Homer.
Okay.
Will Salmon, Anthony DeComo from New York voted for Wheeler. And then Megan Montemuro from the Chicago Trib voted for Wheeler over Sale. She must not have covered Sale when Sale was in Chicago because she would have voted for Sale. So that's.
Do you think some people went on workload?
Sale pitched a lot of innings until the very end. It wasn't like Sale missed a bunch of starts.
No, I agree. I mean, Wheeler hit 200 and Sale's number was 177 and 2/3. Like, that's a 25-ish
maybe
inning difference. Nowadays, that's actually a lot. I would vote for Sale, obviously, easily. But I'm saying, is it egregious if some people throw Wheeler's name out there?
Not egregious, no. What'd you say, 25 innings? 25 innings is a lot of innings.
About 25, yeah.
Would there be a case, you're looking at the top 3 here, you can go back and forth like Paul Skeens. He didn't play a whole year, but, he did have a pretty good year as well. I mean, then you look at the guys below him, you're like, all right, well, yeah, I could see him being a top 5 kind of guy. So that's one where it's like, all right, well, are they doing it because of the hype or are they doing it because he's a good pitcher? I think he's a good pitcher, don't get me wrong, but, I thought this was over, a whole season's work, but yeah, good for him.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the funniest thing to me is people thought Clase was going to beat Skubal on the other.
Yes.
That was the other one. There was no chance.
Yeah, and he didn't even finish.
He finished third behind Lugo.
Finished in third, right, behind Lugo.
Clase had a great year, but Skubal dominated everything by such a big margin. Both these races were kind of done. I thought like August.
Beginning of September.
There wasn't a lot of, whoa, man, let's stay for the drama here for the Cy Youngs.
Yeah, I'll bring it up one last time because maybe Todd Father wasn't on for this show and you're in the state where I got the call. So, Todd, I got a call from the fan in Cleveland, which I go on sometimes, and they do a great job. They're really plugged into baseball, but they were saying a lot of people locally were assuming that Emmanuel Clase was going to win Cy Young. And this radio hit was deep into the season. I'm talking maybe a week or 2 left in the year. And I almost dropped the phone when they said that. I don't think they were saying it, but they were saying, a lot of people around here think that he's a lock for Cy Young. And I'm like, what? I'm like, dude's having a brilliant year. But I was like, he has no shot. If it's a year where it's tough to find someone and there is an elite closer year, sure, he can be in the conversation. But there was someone standing out so far from the pack in Skubal on the American League side. Like, hey, I mean, I know Seth Lugo finished ahead of Emmanuel Clase, but Top Father, if Skubal's not, doing what he does this year in the American League, okay, we can start bringing up that discussion. But to me, Clase never even got to that point because you had Skubal.
Yeah, and before we even talk about that, I got to go with Seth Lugo, man. From where he started, as coming in as a reliever, sort of kind of closer role as well. And then they'd be like, we need a spot start here. In New York, when I played with him over there, he would come in, go out and dominate. And then finally, finding his niche and his home there in Kansas City, man, I got to give him kudos coming number 2 in Cy Young. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. Well-deserved too. He's a guy that is, the Royals are going to look for and lean on for, more years to come. Yeah. And I mean, listen, the closer role, it's a tough role. It's like the kicker we talked about before, go up there, make the kick or get the last 3 outs. He did. He had an exceptional year, but there was one guy ahead of the pack. And that's the toughest part about a reliever a closer. If people are like, 11 and 10, having okay years and you can't find one, then that's when we start talking about it. So if he has that year next year and it's like, all right, well, what happened to Skubal and, Lugo struggling, hey, it'd definitely be up for grabs.
Props to the Royals, too, for getting Lugo. And, I mean, how about before that, Reagans?
And Cole Reagans for Chapman the year before. They've got a nucleus of good pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you throw in, they brought back Waka, they have Reagans, they have Lugo.
Singer's good. I mean, I know he's
Singer's
on the trade
apparently
block.
traded, but not traded.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't traded. I mean, Ken said that there were some little chats.
I don't know. Todd's in Cincinnati. Todd, is Singer a red or is India not a red? I mean, what's happening there? You're on the ground.
I'm looking across there. I don't see anybody working out, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you're Kansas City, if you want to trade from the depth of your rotation, knowing that the consistency of having a rotation healthy is inconsistent, right? Like if you're KC, I know you can't just keep spending money, but if you're looking for that top of the order on base guy, you can probably find one of those in free agency.
And let's not forget Chris Sale. I mean, when they made this trade for Vaughn Grissom, everybody is like, what are the Braves doing?
Did they say that?
There was a lot of people online. If you went online and you read some stuff, they're like, oh, Braves acquire a washed-up pitcher. Red Sox, steal one from the Braves.
I think it depends which part of the country you're in. So I'll make this case. In the Northeast, Red Sox fans who are pissed about how they've been operating for the last several years go, watch. Sale can't stay on the field and he's going to dominate this year in Atlanta. I saw that too, like the sarcasm where they're almost trying to reverse jinx it and be like, okay, we know what's going to happen here. And Kratz, it so happened. It beyond happened. I mean, nobody saw Chris Sale as a Cy Young winner at this point. Everyone was just like, hey, we know he's going to be good if he can stay on the field. Like, can you get 20 starts out of him?
They got 20. They got 20 plus tax. But if we could throw up the graphic again of the National League Cy Youngs, talking about Sale. Sale was acquired in a trade, okay? Your team has the opportunity to upgrade if your team knows how to make the adjustments. Look at this top 6 here. Chris Sale, acquired in a trade. Dylan Cease, acquired in a trade. Michael King, acquired in a trade. Like, your team has the ability to go out and find value in places. This is the time to do it. All 3 of those guys were acquired last year during the offseason. So your team should do this type of thing. Get rid of the prospects. Can you name any of the prospects that each of those guys were and the season that they had and for what each of those guys were traded for?
Obviously, Michael King was traded for Soto.
Michael King won Soto.
No. I know what you're saying though, Kratz, because I'm actually.
But also, you got to go spend money. Zach Wheeler was acquired by free agency. Shota Imanaga was acquired by free agency. Paul Skeens obviously was 1-1. Logan Webb was a draft pick of the Giants. Hunter Green 1-1 with the Reds. Ryan Helsley was a Cardinal guy. I mean,
so here's
it's
what
good
I'm
drafting. It's kind of a conglomeration of everything. There's multiple ways to do it.
Right. You either suck and you get high draft picks, and those are the ones that pan out like this as a Cy Young type. That's Green and Skeens, right? Or you acquire. It's not a lot of homegrown talent here. So anyway, we're going to get to Chris Sale. Last word, Kratz, and then Chris Sale's getting.
Did you see Hunter Green? Because he got top 10. He got $1 million bonus for getting in the top 10 of the Cy Young.
Good
Appreciate
agency,
that,
right?
Voters. Appreciate those voters.
Right there.
Appreciate those 2 votes he got.
Hey, I appreciate those guys.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go look and see who voted for him now because now I want to know if they get a cut. Huh?
That's crazy.
I want to go see. Now I'm digging in. Now I really want to know who voted.
Oh, definitely in Cincinnati, I would assume.
Let's
Get
see
some
here.
crumble cookies. Get some
What is he? He got 1 4th and 1 5th, right? Or
yes. Third and fourth.
Third and fourth.
David Brandt from Arizona voted him 3rd.
Mm-hmm. Lived in Arizona.
He must have tore it up against them one game.
We need Britt Giroli on because she voted him 4th. She's definitely getting a. You know what? She's getting a push present from Hunter Green. I bet.
Can you look up one more? One more. Zach Wheeler got 1 4th place vote. Everyone else went 1 and 2.
Oh, the same guy who voted Hunter Green 3rd voted Zach Wheeler 4th.
Wow.
The guy he's from Arizona. Probably Hunter's neighbor. Just saying.
David Brandt.
Amazing. Okay. Anyway, let's step aside. Chris Sale coming up next on FT. Cards fan Kane said, Royals think Bubic and Marsh are capable of filling for Singer. They need offense. I agree they need offense, and this does make sense. The Royals aren't going to do what they did last year again. I'm saying last offseason. They're not going to spend the same way they just did. They might add a player or two via free agency, but they went pretty hard last offseason. Because also that was the offseason where they did – was it during the offseason, the Bobby Witt extension?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they did the Witt extension, they did Waka, they did Lugo. They got some guys that weren't as helpful, but they got Renfroe. And there was at least
they
one
went
more.
after it.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to go after it like that, but that's why they have to trade from an asset like Singer. I don't like doing that. You know, it's not like they've got 10 starters. You're trading away a good, reliable starter in the bigs to fill a need when you could probably find someone. If I spend some time on the free agent list here, you know, I was on with Ken Rosenthal, Kratz, doing Fair Territory before this, and he said, you know, with the market, kind of the usual. He thinks some of the mid-level guys will get squeezed. I'm like, well, that should be one of the Royals' targets to fill the need that they're talking about, and not trading Brady Singer.
I mean, I think they can try. They tried to piece it together. They need a solidified piece. I think Massey played like 70 games. You need a solidified piece because Witt's numbers early in the game, getting on, driving guys in is ridiculous. He needs guys in front of him.
Glaber?
Is that on-base percentage high enough?
It was when he hit leadoff. But when Glaber started hitting leadoff, he became a different person.
He did.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
330 during the season, and yes, I agree with AJ. Let's look at it when he was an on-base or a leadoff guy. I don't have the number in front of me, but even 330, and let's assume it was 350-ish.
I mean, in the playoffs, he could replicate what he did in the postseason. Wow.
Yeah, that's the guy. I mean, he's not a $100 million player. I don't know what his market looks like. That's a tough one, but it's not $100 million.
He wants to hit 35 homers again. Ain't gonna happen in KC. Like, he's got to be a up the middle the other way kind of guy.
Okay. 30 seconds. Chris Sale, Green Room, ready to talk to the Cy Young winner in the National League. Yes, the Cy Young winner in the National League joining us right now. It's Chris Sale of the Atlanta Braves. Hey, Chris, awesome to have you on right after this. Congrats, man. How's the last 12, 16 hours been for you?
It's been busy. A lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, but definitely worth it.
I'm disappointed, by the way. I thought we had Tarik Skubal. I wanted to talk to a unanimous Cy Young Award winner. Instead, you didn't get 4 votes. I don't know. I'm mad at you a little bit right here. You couldn't get all 30.
Well, if you were a better host, you might have got the better pitcher, but
A good point. That's a great point. I tried.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, he always says he taught you everything. So he starts with the White Sox. All these years later, he's the National League Cy Young.
I never would have thought he'd be a National League Cy Young. I thought he'd be a White Sox for life, But when him and Frazier decided to go around cutting up jerseys, the White Sox, enough of these 2 clowns, they're out.
Hey, how bad do you miss the White Sox right now, bro? Oh, that's great.
I had obviously the best year of my career. I'd win the Cy Young, and one of my losses was to the worst team in the history of the game. So, hey, keep your chin up, stay humble, kid.
That's true. That's very true. Hey, what's the best reach out you've gotten so far from someone? Besides AJ and Todd Father and your former teammates here, but obviously, a good call or text, or whether it was the note itself or just the person.
Probably the most satisfying was the call to my dad. He's the one that's been there my whole life. I mean, he's the amount of baseballs he's thrown me, the amount of times he's gotten behind the plate to catch a bullpen when I was a kid. I mean, it was that was a phone call to make.
Did you get a car? Skubal yesterday had birthday, car, Cy Young. Did your wife get you a car? Did she get you hopefully she didn't get you a bike, because last time you were on a bike, we know how that ended. So hopefully she got you like maybe a Tesla that has all airbags all around you or something.
I'm too Florida for an electric car, but I have a great story. I get a text from Stephanie Corey. She's with our agency, and she's like, "Are you guys celebrating tonight?" And I was in bed at like 9 o'clock last night, like asleep at 10. And yes, we are getting a new car. I'm going to pick it up tomorrow, and it's a Volvo XC90. So I got a new car, I got some good sleep, and I got a trophy.
That's awesome. Good stuff, man. Talk a little bit about family. I mean, I've seen you guys now all over. You got your wife and kids coming to a lot of road series. You guys are exploring Washington, D.C. The pictures are awesome. You're turning it. I feel like you're starting to understand, like, hey, man, I got to celebrate with my family a little more. You never know when it's going to be your last. Talk a little about how your family has represented you and how much more you need them as you get older here, because it looks like you're having a blast playing, but also you're bringing the family along with you, man. That's awesome.
For sure, yeah. That was actually something I was talking to my wife about last night. Before I got traded last offseason, we were really kind of planning that, this year was probably going to be my last year playing. I had one more year left on my contract, and we actually pulled our kids out of school. We're doing homeschool this year just so we could travel. It's like, all right, if we're going to do this one last year, let's fully kind of live the baseball life. They went on a lot of trips, and we kind of planned this last year before the trade happened. So, but we kind of stuck with the plan, and we're doing homeschool now, so we're doing a lot of stuff. We went to Philly and learned a lot about founding fathers. Went to Alcatraz out in San Fran, and Red Rocks in Colorado, and just it was nice having the family together and having them be able to kind of experience this. Because I haven't been traveling a whole lot the last few years with all the injuries, so it was nice. It was nice having that and being able to share this experience with them. My youngest son's 5 now. I got a 7-year-old about to be 8, and my oldest son's 14, almost 15. So it goes quick, and we wanted to be able to keep our family together and enjoy it together.
That's awesome. Keep them out. That's what we did. We did for most of my career. Obviously, I didn't win any Cy Youngs. I was never eligible, so I think it was kind of a farce. But anyway, the second to last time you were on, so the first time you were on, not when we saw you at the All-Star game, but I asked you, are you a Hall of Fame pitcher? And your answer was kind of, well, no, if Burley's not, then I'm not. After this season, and clearly it's now not your last, are you a Hall of Fame pitcher?
No. Not as it sits right now.
Okay. That's a little different. That's a little different of an answer, though. Did you know that you could do this coming into the season had you stayed healthy?
Oof. I will say this. I would say I wasn't expecting to do this, right? To win a Cy Young award. That was probably a little bit aggressive. I had confidence in myself. I just knew that I needed to be healthy. I know what I can do when I'm healthy and when I'm on a baseball field. And I just knew that I needed to execute that. I needed to stay healthy to be able to perform. So I had the confidence in my stuff when I was healthy. It was just, am I going to be healthy? And, thankfully it worked out.
Well, two things. First of all, I know you're not teaching your kids anything. First of all, you went to Lakeland High School and then you went to FGCU. Neither one of those are as highly rated as Dr. Phillips, okay? So I know that your wife is Brianna's doing all the work. Bria's doing all the work. You're just sitting back and hopefully you're like, hey, kids, look, it's Big Ben over there. It's the Liberty Bell. So I understand how that works. Now, what changed? What changed in your health? Because you were in Boston. You were always healthy. I remember how many talks did we have? His locker was next to mine. We'd have talks, and he's like, man, every team, that's why I fell, was they thought I was going to blow out, right? And you went years and years and years until, it happened. And then he comes back, and you had some weird things. But then this year, you put it all back together at an advanced age. So what changed? And was it your workout routine? Was it your in-between start prep? Was it something the Braves did differently than what the Red Sox are doing? What was the key for you?
Well, to touch on the homeschooling first, I'm the PE teacher. So
yeah.
When they get to the end of their line, we'll go downstairs and play some ping pong, or take them out and get some wiffle ball, make some football passes, stuff like that. So I'm very lucky. My wife, my mother-in-law, and our nanny are holding it down from on the school front. This year, honestly, I would say just being healthy was the biggest thing. Having a good, healthy off season as well. The last few years, there are a couple of years I didn't pick up a baseball until like January, and that's just way too late. I knew last year going into the off season, I needed to just play catch. I needed to throw. I need to get my arm in just throwing shape, playing a lot of long toss. Heck, I was getting off the mound in like December last off season, so I just really needed to focus on like the kind of the baseball stuff, getting back into throwing more and getting my arm in shape. And then, I kind of tweaked a little bit of my routine in between starts with some of the stuff throwing wise, some of the stuff in the weight room, some of the stuff in the training room, and had a lot of help to get there too. So I really just kind of leaned on everybody around me to kind of get me through this and kind of fall in place where I needed things to what I needed to do and when I needed to do them.
Let's talk about your health at the end of the season. How close to the doubleheader did you know, or how long before that doubleheader, the last game of the season, did you know you wouldn't be able to make that start? And when did it kind of creep in where it was like, okay, I'm kind of pitching through this, and then it finally was, you couldn't go?
Yeah, that was a tough blow. I've kind of felt something in that. What was it? The start against Cincinnati, and I just did my best to kind of just get through that outing, and it was a grind. I mean, if you go back and look at that start, it was my stuff wasn't really crisp. It wasn't jumping out of my hand. I was just doing everything I could just to kind of fill innings, so I wasn't putting our guys in a tough spot. And, the following days and weeks was just, it was a couple days off and trying to play some catch and doing a lot of treatment stuff. It was kind of a weird situation because we obviously got eliminated in the wild card series, but I ended up throwing a bullpen just for peace of mind. I didn't want to just kind of leave this on ice and not really know going into the offseason, what this was. So I forget what day it was, but it was I think it was a day or two after the last wild card game. I ended up throwing a bullpen off the mound at Truist. Just to kind of, all right, I'm going into the offseason. If we had made it to the division series, I would have pitched. And, I've been playing catch since the middle of October. I've been going through my workouts and, haven't had any issue with it. So thankful for that.
I want to ask you a question here. We got 2 teams this year that are going to be playing at minor league parks. First off, you ever think that would ever happen? And second off, could you imagine yourself, getting your first ever start and you got to do it at Steinbrenner Field? Like how unique, or I don't even know if it's unique, or how crazy is this going to be for guys to be, coming in out and playing at minor league parks this year?
Yeah, unique is definitely the right word for that. It's, you got to kind of play the hand you're dealt, right? Like there's just really no way that, the Trop would be ready to play for the season. So they have to do something, right? I don't know if their spring training site was ever a possibility, but I think that's more of a situation of you kind of got to do what you got to do given the circumstances. And the weirder part is obviously playing at someone else's spring training, right? Like if you went back to your own spring training and feel a little bit more normal and you'd feel a little bit more at home, but playing at like a mini replicated Yankee Stadium, as especially when the Yankees go in to play, the race this year. So, but hey, sometimes that's life, that's baseball, that's sports. You kind of got to adapt and figure it out on the fly sometimes. So, it's definitely unique to say the least.
Hey, Chris, so you mentioned how you thought this might be your last season. Obviously, then you signed the extension with the Braves and you got traded over there. I mean, you win a Cy Young at 35, and now you're like, I might have quite a few years left in me. Have you thought about what the shelf life for the arm is now in the bigs?
Yeah, I said this last night, guys. I just got through my first full season healthy in like 5 years. I'm not going to start counting the chickens yet. So I think where I'm at and just given my past, man, and where I'm at now, it's only fair to myself, my family, and even my teammates to just kind of play every year and see what it brings, right? I don't think I'd ever be able to say before a season, this is going to be my last season, or sit here and tell you now how many years I have. Just because I have too much respect for the game, and I know how much things can change in just a blink of an eye, honestly. So, for me, I really did my best to do that this year, is just kind of appreciate where I'm at and what I'm doing, who I'm doing it with, and just kind of take each moment as they come. Because getting ahead of yourself, clearly, it can kind of derail some things. So, I'm going to play this year. I got this year, and then I have an option, and, we get to the end of this year and everything's good and we're healthy and we're, still, usable, I guess you could say. And they decide to pick up that option, then we play. But, I'm just kind of focused on this off season, getting through another healthy off season, and then showing up spring training ready to roll again.
Man, you're playing more than one more year. Stop. Just stop. You're playing one more. You're not ready to go home and stay at home, Dad. We got it. It's cool. It sounds good when you're telling everybody, oh, you're like Charlie Morton. I'm going to play one more year. That was 10 years ago, and he's still getting 1-year deals for $20 million. So stop it, please. Just stop it, okay?
If the 40 and I'm still throwing 96 and spinning it at 3,000 RPMs like him, we're going to have some conversations. But
there you go.
I just, with where I've been, I can't sit here and say that right now.
All right. You guys lost Travis d'Arnaud. D'Arnaud signed with the Angels. What's that loss for your team and for the Braves in general? I know Murph kind of took over, but early last year Murph was hurt and d'Arnaud played the bulk of the time, and then they kind of split down the stretch. What's the loss of Travis d'Arnaud, and for that matter, Sal Fasano to the Braves?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you said Sal's name too. Travis, losing him, that was a gut punch. That was a tough one. Good catchers who are great teammates don't just grow on trees. And what he was, just even in the clubhouse, he was a guy that just people wanted to be around. People, you can trust in him. When he's behind the plate, what you're going to get in terms of game calling and just leaving everything he's got out on the field. It was a running joke. I feel like every time he caught me, he was hitting 2 home runs. He had a 3-homer game during one of my starts, and so I'm going to miss that portion of it for sure. But again, he's a veteran catcher who's been around. He's a proven winner. He's a leader, and again, like I said, guys just kind of gravitate towards him. So that was a tough one. That was a tough pill to swallow. Obviously, having Murph, he's Gold Glove back behind the plate, all-star catcher. We have all the confidence in the world in him. So it'll be a little bit different moving forward. But hey, it's baseball, it's sports. It's very rarely do you see full teams stay together for very long. And then, losing Sal, that was a tough one too, man. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that, just lives this game. Everything he does is baseball oriented. We'd have to, the Braves did team breakfast, and he'd be in there, and it was a lot of fun going and, starting the day, getting some breakfast, get a couple eggs, and there's Sal, and he's just chopping it up about this or that, game planning, mentality stuff, and just sometimes it wasn't even about baseball. So he put a lot of work, and he helped those guys behind the plate a lot, and he was almost like a third pitching coach also. So. Losing him was tough as well, but again, like I said, this game keeps moving forward, and you got to, kind of just gain ground when you can.
Big boy Sal was there for the free breakfast. Don't get it twisted. He likes talking baseball, but my guy was there for the extra waffles and eggs. That man ain't getting into his wallet, but that's okay. One last guy who's going to get into a wallet. How much does it mean? Because we talk about position players, and that's what I can attest to. How much does it mean when a pitcher leaves a staff? How much would it mean for you to have, as a pitcher in your success, to have Max Fried back?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure there's not anybody associated with the Atlanta Braves that wants to see him wearing a new uniform. Just his consistency, man. I mean, he's really impressive in terms of how he goes about what he does. Just how involved he is with the scouting reports, and he'd have a stack of papers like that thick, and there's blue highlighters, there's red highlighters. He's got he's one of the better students of the game I've ever actually been around, and just kind of how elusive he can be, man. Like, there's some games he'd give up 9 hits, and there'd be 1 or 2 runs across the board. I give up 9 hits. I've given up 7 runs. So he has the ability to, get that early contact, but sometimes those results in hits. And then, next thing you know, there's a punch out and a double play, or a double play and a pop up. And it just seemed like anytime guys, got something going, he, better than a lot of people I've ever seen, would be able to get out of that, second and third with nobody out, and finding ways out of it. So, but he's positioned himself to be here. He's put in the work. He's obviously put in the time, and he's deserving of whatever comes his way.
By the way, you also won a Gold Glove this year, which still blows my mind because you can't catch a cold. Seriously, I can't figure this out. It's so awesome that you won a Gold Glove. It really is amazing.
I will say this about Glove. I don't know if I won it as much as I just didn't mess it up.
There you go. You didn't have to throw over, so you didn't throw. Remember the time in Seattle we called it? I think you were pitching. No, it might have been Danks. We called a throw over, and Adam Dunn was playing first. Forgot to cover. Whatever. I think it was Danks that was pitching that game. Things like that happen, though.
Many moons ago, but yeah, I was able to make all the plays, and actually the best play I made all year. I didn't even really. The ball caught me, so I'll hang my hat on that Gold Glove for the rest of my life.
Believe it. Hey, you guys get to go to Bristol this year and play in the NASCAR stadium. Are you excited about that? Because it breaks up the monotony of just every game. So you get to go to a different park Saturday night. You get the Sunday following off. I think they're trying to make it the biggest crowd in the history of MLB. Are you going to go to Snit and say, Snit, I want that game?
I would love that. And I'm all for it too. So in 2019, with the Red Sox, we played the Yankees in London, and I mean the travel was tough. The plane we took was ridiculous, which made it a lot better. But I thought that was a blast. It was obviously a launching pad, so I'm glad I missed that series pitching wise. But just a fun experience, especially. It's almost like you're going on a trip, to London in the middle of the season. So it definitely did break it up, and they did a good job of putting that, close to the All-Star break. So we kind of catch our breath after some long travel. But I'm all in for this kind of stuff, man. Anything to kind of make the game a little bit more exciting. Playing a game in a place that has probably never seen a professional baseball team. So I'm for it. And I'd love to pitch.
Yeah, the only way you could throw there, though, is you got to wear a 1920s wool uniform. Are you all right with that or no?
I still got
it. Oh, that's all. Oh, that's great, dog. Good stuff.
No, man.
I love it. Wait, what is that?
It looked like a shank. What, you got a shank? What was that thing?
A knife.
That's the cutter.
It's a pocket knife. I don't know if this might be a little family friendly. So,
Hey, listen, for people that don't know where Lakeland is, that everyone in Lakeland carries one of them.
Everybody has one.
Oh, in Lakeland, 100%. I mean, everyone Lakeland's a place where they had the gun racks in the back of their truck.
Yeah,
with the guns. Still, Sale was in high school. I guarantee you had the gun rack in the back of his short bed Ford. And he had the friggin' the shotgun, so he could go right to hunting right after school.
Yeah, not in my truck. I'm not that old.
Well, Chris, this was awesome, man. Congratulations again on the Cy Young dub, and thanks for stopping by to hang with us. Really appreciate it, but what a year.
No, I appreciate it, guys. I love coming on here, so hit me up whenever. I'm down.
Hey,
absolutely.
Now you got expectations, so now you got to go do it again.
Ooh.
I know. That stings.
High expectations. Chris, appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon. We'll hit you up soon.
No problem. See you guys.
See ya. Chris Sale, Atlanta Braves, NL Cy Young. Awesome. I love when we get former teammates on. But also, you think that's D?
No. Todd was there. It was Scissors. Todd was there.
Oh, it was Scissors.
Wow. It was. No, I don't think it was. I don't remember it being Scissors. I thought it was like a monster knife he came out with. I gotta remember. I
thought you told the story on here before. I thought you said it was.
I know. I'm drawing a blank right now. That's terrible.
Okay, I thought you said it was a box cutter that he just went and he just went straight down the jersey.
I thought it was a big knife. Text him. I don't have his number. You got to text him.
Yeah, he used to.
AJ.
Well, I mean, he just popped a pocket knife out. So all you had to do was walk in, take the pocket knife, and go down everyone's jersey
and just rip it down.
I think Adam Eaton.
Here we go. Adam Eaton has
no. This has nothing to do with you. I think Adam Eaton saved his jersey. This has nothing to do with you. I'm pretty sure he's the only one that saved it.
That's smart.
And that's why I got mad at him in the beginning, and then we weren't friends after that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But those wool jerseys, I think you needed a bigger thing because they were so thick. You couldn't just cut them. I can picture him doing it. I'm trying to remember exactly what he did. I'm like, I was telling him, Chris, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble here. He goes, yeah, I know. Who cares? I'm so pissed off. I was like, okay, all good.
It's so legendary. It's also probably one of those tales where about 50 years from now, people are like, there's this guy and he was just like ripping one by one.
He was Hulk Hoganing.
Yeah, he put each one on and went like this. Yeah, he bit one and just spit it out.
But Sale's the only person that would do that and not care. right? Because he was so about. Well, first of all, he's so about his team.
Yeah,
and he probably also didn't want. He also didn't want Todd to probably have to play third in that thing. So he's like, I'll take the heat for everybody.
Yeah.
And then
it was literal heat. Those things were thick.
Yeah, no, he's listen. He learned from one of the best in Mark Burley, and
he's a gem.
That's what you want. I love when he goes, "There's probably not a team ever been played in Bristol." I'm like, I played in Bristol. I'm like, I know Sale skipped the minor leagues. He was in the minor leagues for like 2 weeks. I played in Bristol.
I thought when you were saying that, I know we got a couple saying. I thought you were saying they're playing at the NASCAR racetrack in Bristol.
No, they are.
They are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Next year.
How are they going to do that?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Okay, this is actually pretty juicy. So Rob Manfred spoke yesterday and was asked a question about Roki Sasaki, and it sounded like the question was kind of posed as if, the Dodgers already are getting things done with him. And so Manfred goes, in my media training, they never told me to answer questions that involve suspicion, so I could pass it altogether. He goes, just one clarification. It kind of looks like the way it's going to shake out the signing there, just because of the timing, will happen in the new pool period. So that's kind of a significant fact. And here, I'm hopping out of the quote for a sec. So that's in January. Okay, I'm hopping back in the quote. But, we're going to see what happens there. If there's any reason to believe that there was a violation of one of our rules, you can rest assured that we will thoroughly investigate and try to get to the bottom of it. Now, Joel Wolf is a Wasserman agent. He runs the baseball agency over there, and he represents Roki Sasaki. He spoke to Evan Drellick and delivered this quote. While a bunch of executives who should know me better insult my integrity by insinuating that I would be a part of some type of nefarious agreement, in reality, this is just poor sportsmanship. First of all, I love that he came out and said something like, hey, for you execs trying to be sore losers, calling us out, don't, okay? We are going to go through the process, and we're going to see what happens. My only counter is, do you want to say anything until afterward? Because if it's really up to Roki and he does end up choosing the Dodgers, people are going to be like, see, we told you this was already a done deal. Even if it's really not. I'm like, I don't know if you want to say anything, but what do you think?
I think this is funny because every agent tries to do this, and now someone called an agent out on it. And now he's like, no, that's bad. I would never, ever get a deal done before. It's like, yes, every agent tries to get deals done as soon as they can. And it's like the NFL and the NBA when the 12:01 hits on the free agency and all these deals come in. Wait, so you got them all negotiated in 5 seconds? Yeah. Come on. Like, what are we talking about? Everyone knows this stuff happens.
Qualifying offers the same way, right? You shop the market and then you come back and say what you're going to do. Even, with certain opt-out decisions, you think they just blindly go, let's take a stab at it. What do we think, Todd Father? Should we opt out or not? Obviously, the agent's doing due diligence, calling his friends, calling his people he works with, that represent teams and saying, hey, if we opt out, would you sign him for this number?
For sure. And I think when you think about opting out on those things, I think about the guys that have the opportunity to get that. What is it, a little over 21 million this year? I think about a guy like Nick Martinez, who's dominated with the Padres, done okay with the Reds, and now he gets that. Guys like that, I'm going to take that with open arms and make another 21 million as you move forward. And then there's guys that take a chance and then they don't get what they want in free agency. So it's tough to decide what you really want to do. You got to have a really good agent that understands the market and understands what teams are looking for and if they really want you or not. But yeah, I'm sure there's some underlying talks like, hey, listen, I know we got 5 days here. Can we make a deal? Can we do that? So it's a pretty close-knit game that they try and play there.
Probably doesn't have a finalized deal, but let's be honest. Agents, let's not even beat around the bush. Agents call teams to find out what they can get, where they can get the most. My biggest thing about all this, Manfred, they're going to get to the bottom of it. They're really awesome at doing investigations. The league just crushes investigations. They are super ahead of the curve. They never miss the turn, insert sarcasm, but they've turned a blind eye forever to it, just like any other scandals.
Yeah, but every sport does it.
Yeah. Also,
Every single sport does it. By the way, you asked about people. I mean, apparently Gerrit Cole didn't check before he opted out because he opted right back in.
right, exactly. And we'll talk about that later, actually. Steinbrenner, Hal, owner of the Yanks, came out and spoke about that little situation. But in this actual case, I mean, everyone's saying, oh, it's so mysterious. We had
Listen, Joe Wolf, as soon as he found out, and he probably knew months ago that Sasaki was going to want to come, he's already touched base with not every team, maybe every team, but I mean, I'm not sure he's checking in with certain teams but I think he's already touched base with the ones that he knows. Or he went to Sasaki, said, "Hey, where do you want to go? Give me your top 10." And he's probably reached out to more than that, but he said, "All right, these are the 10 teams that I am definitely going to talk to."
How much are the pitches really doing, right? We go over this with Soto. Now we're going over this with Sasaki. I can guarantee you this: when an agent comes out and says, Kratz, we are going to go through the process. They are. To me, if anything, they're probably going to overdo it now. They're probably going to have 20 meetings over a 3-week span to be like, see, we did our due diligence. But how much does it really matter? This guy is a big baseball fan. He knows the Japanese players that are playing here right now. I'm talking about Roki Sasaki. I mean, he's probably at most trying to decide between a few ball clubs. And even still, is the presentation doing it? I mean, for Shohei Ohtani, he wanted to play with Trout. He needed to be in the American League to have a DH. It sounded that simple to me.
Yeah, but I think this case, the presentation matters. I think the presentation matters way more than the Juan Soto cases. Juan is looking for the cash. If you can just make your presentation, if it were me, I'd make the presentation slide $665 million / or $5 million more than whatever the next highest bid is. That's my slide. Thanks a lot. Here's your food in a to-go box. With Roki, I think Roki Sasaki the presentation matters. What does the market that you have? Obviously, it's going to be good teams. He's not going to a cellar dweller. But what does that market give me? And what is your pitching development and all that stuff? How is that different from other teams? So I think these presentations do matter.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, maybe it's just me or a few people, but when you're coming over to America, which a lot of people understandably don't do it, but for this guy, you see your buddies over there, it's like you don't think he's talking to those guys, maybe not. I feel like he's asking them tons of questions, how is it over there in LA? What is this and that? Wouldn't you want to be with your boys? I mean, that's just me, in my opinion. It's more comfortable. I'm always looking for comfort in these types of situations or in any situation. I've never been in this situation. So I'm sure there's tons of conversations going on and, with teams and with players that he's been around and played with.
That's a good point. I'd be shocked if he hasn't already had multiple conversations with Ohtani, Darvish, Yamamoto, etc. They can say whatever they want. The players are allowed to be friends and have conversations. So I'm sure that's happened. This is big business here. This guy is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. You're about to get him for single-digit millions, right? It is a massive, massive bargain on the table based on the skill set that he has. So we'll see what happens. But I still think he's a Dodger, but we'll see. I mean, I get what Joel's saying. He's like, don't accuse me of having a deal done already. I mean, the money doesn't even matter in this case. You're just giving them the maximum bonus money that you have. So we'll see what he decides. We'll get to it. There'll be a whole sweepstakes, and we'll do where will Roki go for AJ for a while. Anyway,
that's better than where will Juan go.
Well, we're gonna do it. So let's get to Hal Steinbrenner's quotes on Gerrit Cole. He said that he, quote, wasn't in a position where I was comfortable going to a 5th year to extend that contract to 2029. Once he had opted out, the Yankees could have opted him back in by adding that year. And then he added and said, quote, but let me just say that doesn't reflect in any way, shape, or form what we think of Gerrit. We want Gerrit to be a Yankee for life. I believe he wants to be a Yankee for life. And adding one more year or not adding one more year should have no meaning when it comes to that. So again, we said no. And it's not about anything else unless I'm missing something here. And yes, again, if they want to try and lower an average annual value, they can do that in 2 years. They can add years at any time.
Mm-hmm.
So are they doing that this offseason? I feel even stronger now in saying no.
reading what he wrote here or what he said, if we could dissect this a little bit, it doesn't reflect any way, shape, or form of what we think of Gerrit. Okay, give him the other year. We want Gerrit to be a Yankee for life. Okay, give him the year. I believe he wants to be a Yankee for life. Yes, he does. So why not give him the year? Like adding one more year doesn't, should not mean like there's meaning to it. Yeah, like this is something that I'm sure I can't speak for Gerrit, but give him the another year. Like, come on, I don't understand why these all these owners they do this and that and they don't finish off the deal. Like, let the player, I guess, quote unquote, win a deal here. Like, just for this fact, just over 1 year. Like, I don't get it. Like, hey, he wanted $50 million. You're only willing to give 43. Just give him the $7 million if you really want him. You want him to be a Yankee for life, so why not make that happen? That's just coming from my opinion. I just believe you got to go the extra mile for generational talents.
But they don't have to go the extra mile. That would be my argument, Todd. Is they don't have to. Like, they sit there like he's already locked up. He's locked up for 4 years. Maybe they can talk about it at the end of the 4 years. But I think it was a misjudgment maybe by Gerrit. I don't think, like we talked about agents, I don't think, I think players like Gerrit Cole may go outside of their own scope and be like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to see if I could get more. Whether the agent said yes or no, players are players. So for me, I think Hal did the right thing. I think he had him, and it was like, we don't feel like we need to go for a 5th year. And I think Gerrit did the right thing and being like, actually, I'll opt back in and we'll stay, and everybody's happy again.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I get it. I'm just on the lines where, if the player is good enough and you believe in him and you love him and he wants to be there and he brings up having another year, like, okay, like I wouldn't understand why you wouldn't want him for 1 more year. That's all. Not arguing. I'm just talking out loud.
I'm with you. And Todd Father, I think you should have challenged him. I do. I mean, the only reason why you don't is if there are medical concerns that and the team knows. And again, I don't know that situation, but my prediction is that he was notified that if he does opt out fully and tells the Yanks that you have to be willing to go somewhere else. And I think he really liked his setup and said, nah, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. Because here's what I think would have happened. If his arm's in good shape and passes medicals that teams need to see, I think another team would have went after him, put a contract out there, and you don't know what's going to happen at that point. Because did Soto sign already? And then there are Yanks saying, I don't know, like we're getting really tied up in payroll. I think he was pressured, and he said, nah, not worth it. I don't want to play this dance all off season. I'm in good shape right now. It's not worth the extra year. But I mean, if I was him and I felt good, I would have said, screw it, let's test it. Because that would have played to your theory, Todd Father. Okay, well, let's hit the market. Now the Yanks are going to have to match an offer that might be larger, right? He could have gotten 6 years, 200. I don't know. I mean, likely no, but not. I mean,
No,
if his arms are in good shape, if the market ends up being crazy this offseason, we don't know yet, right? If some of these guys get more than they thought, and then you're like, damn, I could get Cole for the DeGrom deal, but I actually think he's going to stay on the field, then I think he could have ended up elsewhere.
It all comes down to what, in my humble opinion, what Juan Soto does. I think the chips will fall for whatever team when Juan Soto signs, because if the Yankees get him, that changes the whole dynamic where the Yankees are going. If the Yankees don't get him, it changes dynamic where they're going as well, like who they're going to pick up, and everybody else. The Mets are in, every other team that's in. So, I know we have that skit about where Juan's going to go. It's true. This is the guy that everybody's wondering what's going to happen.
All right, let's get to one more. Yeah, exactly. One more note from Manfred addressing the media. Evan Drellick said, the commissioner goes, 2026 is the deadline for the Rays ballpark. Quote, it's one thing to make an interim arrangement for 2025, which we've done. I think that second year of an interim arrangement, you need a plan as to how you're going to get into a permanent facility. Our Florida expert, AJ Pierzynski, is live on the scene in Orlando, Florida. And what are you hearing?
Well, yesterday or this morning, it came out that the Tampa Ybor City, which Ybor City is in the Tampa area, closer to Steinbrenner Field. It's not really that area, but close to like Steinbrenner Field in Amali, where in the Bucks play. But it's more like Amali in that area where the Lightning play is not dead yet. They're actually talking about that being revitalized because of what's happening in St. Pete. And I don't know if that'll happen or not, but it's going to be real interesting with the Rays because if they don't get a stadium done pretty quickly, there's a great chance they're gone. Because they don't want to spend the money to go back to the Trop. They have to find somewhere else to play. But who's to say at Nashville or Orlando, something like that doesn't come in and say, hey, we'll build you a stadium and you guys come here.
AJ Pierzynski Park is going to be glorious.
Oh, it's going to be so awesome. I already have the site for it and everything.
Yeah, where?
I can't tell you that, Scott.
It's a secret.
If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Well, I just want the presentation. Can I be in the presentation room if you guys do the presentation?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
No, just kidding.
I want to air it live, but
I like how
think
Rob
the Tampa
said.
thing is cool. Yeah.
I like how Rob said we've got it done. We've got this temporary home done. Do you think Major League Baseball had to step in and convince the Yankees to let the Rays at a legitimate price, whether you think $15 million is a legitimate price or not, to play in their spring training complex?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
I'll never
And do
admit
you
that,
think-
but they had to.
Yeah. And how contentious do you think it was? Because it's not just, owners helping owners.
I think it was more contentious than most people think, and here's why. The big boy owners with the big market teams hate dishing out revenue sharing and all kinds of other money. So they're going, no, this is the one time you need me and you have to pay me, and now I got to give you this thing on a discount, and I got to rack my team and put them on what the backfields or something now is where Tampa's going to play. All or at least a lot of their games. I don't know what their exact situation is, but they're pushing them somewhere else within the grounds. Yeah, I'm sure they said to them, it's 50. And then they came back and said, it's 5 or free or whatever, right? And the
15,
goodness of
you're
your
paying
heart.
15.
No, I know that. I'm
what's
saying the
gonna be weird is
negotiation was probably like the Yanks saying, cool, yeah, we'll do it. Give us $50 million. And the Rays were probably like, nah.
I think what Chris Sale said is funny.
What?
When the Yankees come down there twice a year, do the Rays have to move out of the home clubhouse and the Yankees get the home clubhouse
not.
and the Yankees
The
have to
Rays.
go to the visitors?
No.
Do they get full access to like their pitching lab, their hitting lab, all that stuff?
No. I don't think so.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be asked.
It is a good question, right? How much access do they get? I mean, the weight room is one thing. The pitching lab, I'd say no.
The pitching lab's not at the pitching lab and the hitting lab aren't at the big league spring training site. They're over at the minor league. They're at the minor. They're at the Cloverleaf, which is right down the road. So I assume that's where the low A team will play, is at the Cloverleaf, because they have their facilities there. I mean, there's a full field behind Steinbrenner Field, but that's not you wouldn't have a clubhouse or anything like that. So I assume they'll play at the Cloverleaf, Field 5. But I think this was more contentious than people were letting on, because how sick of paying for all these low-level teams that have no budget, no revenue, and now he's got to, well, you know what? I'm a big, strong, rich team that's built up my cachet of, everything that we have. Oh, wait, you have to go and borrow my car. Like, you're coming and borrowing my facility that we've built up, that we've put money into. I think they got to steal at $15 million, to be honest. And I think Hal is probably more pissed for countless reasons.
Yeah, it's like the cousin who doesn't have a job and keeps just taking up all
I thought the
your
price would be
stuff.
higher than $15 million, though. $15 million is not a lot.
No, I thought too.
There's always something on the back end. Like we don't know what's going on, but they're all businessmen, as we understand. So that $15 million, maybe there's something else that underlying that's going on there that we don't know. I mean, it's always in my mind whenever something's going on. Like, yeah, why it's kind of fishy why this guy's taking this. There's something else behind there. There might be. So, I thought the same thing. $15 million for a whole, 81 games? I mean, that's wow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, they're definitely sick of paying for them for things. Because if you're the Yanks, you're like, yo, your ballpark should have been fixed up or gotten a new one 15 years ago. We're all waiting to do expansion for the A's and Rays. There's just there is a lot of fission that doesn't get talked about. So anyway, let's swing back and get to free agency again. So our player of the day is former Atlanta Brave, Max Fried. Where will he sign? Be right back. All right, looking for questions here right now. Josh said, who can the Tigers trade this offseason? Well, I know who they want to trade. Javi Baez, but he's got no value. So
I mean, they have pieces they could trade.
I don't want to trade anybody.
No, I know. They don't want to trade. They want to add.
I want to trade dollars for players because I'm operating at a payroll that's like, what, 22nd in baseball or something like that. And Daddy-O, Big Mike, who passed away, the late great owner of the Tigers, used to spend more like top, 5 to 7 in the league. So that's the easy answer. But who would they trade? I mean, didn't we actually bring up one of their guys on our trade list?
Kratz said Parker Meadows. They're not trading Parker
Why'd
Meadows.
you say that, Kratz? Why would you do that?
Because somebody else can slide over and play center field. He's been on and off the field. I think he would have some value, and I think you would add to the extreme need that they have in their starting rotation. I mean, you have your ace. It's like saying you have, and I'm not. This isn't keeping them out of the free agent market. I think a guy like Jack Flaherty can jump in as your number 3. But man, if you could get a number 2 behind Skubal, I think that would make this team elite.
They could trade Jace Young if they sign Alex Bregman, because Cole Keith is playing second, Torque, and I don't know what else they're doing at first. Shortstop is Sweeney for now. I mean, they could also sign a shortstop. They could be in play for Adames too.
Mm-hmm. They have a lot of moves they could make. There's places they could fill. They definitely need a starting pitcher. A reliever wouldn't hurt them. Mm-hmm. Another bat wouldn't hurt.
They did a nice job with Flaherty.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good signing for them. Right. Then they traded him and got Sweeney out of it, and a good-looking prospect besides him. And then here's a quick one. Scarlett, does Tony Gonsolin have any trade value? I mean, he hasn't pitched. So, I mean, sure, everyone has trade value, but you're not really getting anything for him. So, Dodgers are better off just getting him back on the field and show that the arm's still cranking.
One of those, you trade and throw him in there. Hey, you got to take him with you kind of deals because he hasn't pitched. That's in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to show that you can pitch again. So, yeah, let him do some things on the mound for them.
I've been that guy before.
What? Were they like, hey, I got to see Frazier take some swing?
No, like just put Todd in there. We don't want the White Sox.
Oh, like a throw-in?
Yeah, I was the throw-in.
I think Claudia is putting some of these together, producer extraordinaire, nailing it on the songs. Because, like, to me, that song has like a road trip feel to it, where you're hitting the road. Yeah, free agent fits. What? You have a bone to pick?
Producer lady, she's got too much time on her hands.
No, she doesn't. She's actually being given a task that she is crushing. So I think that, yes, there are a lot more of those to come. Anyway. Let's do our free agent fit of the day. It is Max Fried. I'm looking at what everyone selected behind the scenes.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Todd first, since the rest of us.
Oh my God. You guys are leaving. Since I haven't been on a while, you leave me out.
But I want to make sure, Todd, Father, everyone knows. Like
Wait, we all picked the same team?
No, Todd did. Yeah, we did.
Oh, wow.
But Todd didn't. And I want to make sure everyone knows. I've been part of places in my past that will go over segments like this, and everyone will pick different teams, right? Just to do it. I don't like that. If you're just presenting a case, okay, but like, just tell me what you really think. We used to do like, oh, I'll take this team and just fake it or whatever. Like, no, I'm sorry. Three of us think that Max Fried's going to end up with the same team, and Todd Father thinks he's going to
Baltimore Orioles. I think, in my on the wish list here, I think Corbin Burns is not going to be an Oriole. I think they're going to need some pitching, and I think Max Fried can easily slip in there and be the number one guy. There's a bunch of spots he can go to, but I think as they're moving forward here, I think Max still, close to Atlanta, but at the same time for the Orioles, they need some pitching and they need it really badly. And not knowing, but seeing if Corbin Burns does not come back and he goes somewhere else, I think this is the first guy on the list they have to go after, and I think he'd be a perfect fit over there.
All right, so should we all say our answer word by word together? I'm saying, should we give our explanation since apparently we have the same brains together?
Go ahead, Scott.
We have the Boston Red Sox. For Max Fried. So why did you pick him?
Because when the Red Sox have been good, they've had a good left-handed stata. Right, and they need a good left-handed stata. They got all these righty guys. They need a good lefty stata up there.
Like Chris Sale?
Well, they had him, but they got rid of him. They didn't want a Cy Young in a Gold Glove in their rotation, so they got rid of him. But I just think that's a good fit. I think they're going to spend some money this year. I know Fried's a West Coast guy, but he's been in Atlanta for a long time now. But I just think that he was going to look really good in the Sox.
And my thing, Kratz, when I was putting this together is the Red Sox are going to get a starter or two, right? I looked at, I think maybe Max Fried and Walker Buehler, who I think can pitch anywhere and maybe would accept a new challenge and maybe they'd overpay to bring them over there. I'm just trying to come up with names. I don't think they're going to be the winning bid on Corbin Burns. I think he's going to get a ton of money and I think they want a lefty. And then when you break it down, the next tier, it's Snell or Fried. And I'm just I think they're going to do their best to make sure one of them happens. And I'm all right, I'll go Fried on this one because I think the Dodgers are going to go after Fried too, but I think the Red Sox will outbid them on this particular player.
I think so too. I think he is a gamer. I mean, if we're going in our Boston accent, he's a pitching version of Dustin Pedroia. You sit there and you go, this guy, yes, he hasn't made all 32 starts every year, but if you bring his ability, what he relies on, if there's that big curveball early in at bats, second time through, he doesn't go through the curveball as often, but he's running that cutter in. Teams are going to run predominantly right-handers out there against him. And the best way to do damage against him is you need the ball up, out, over. And if teams see the green monster, that cutter coming in, he's just going to feast in on those hands. And it's just going to be jam job central, and then soft contact down and away. You have to stay to the big part of the ballpark with Max Fried. And I think his stuff plays so well into how teams are going to stack their lineups, especially in Boston. I know half his starts are going to be away from Boston, but I think the city of Boston and Red Sox fans are going to endear themselves to this guy too.
Let's smash a few quick questions and comments. Scarlett goes, why wouldn't the Braves bring Fried back? Well, they want to. They've tried. They have not offered him a sufficient number that he's happy with, so he takes himself to free agency. They could bring him back. They could still re-sign him, but I don't know. I mean, the Braves extend everyone. They let a guy go to this point. You think they're really going to win the bid? I don't.
You never know.
I think he could go back if he doesn't get as much. I bet if the offer's on the table, whatever they offered him, 160, 180, if that's still there, I feel like Alex Anthopoulos will say, hey, that offer's still good. And I think Max might be like, cool, better than a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Paul brings up a good point, which I brought up as well. I think they are a top contender for Gerrit Cole because the Red Sox have not just prospects, but a lot of logjam situations that are brewing. So, and the White Sox reportedly want position players. They're favoring them over pitchers in return for Gerrit Cole. So that's a good point. And that could kill the whole big lefty starter conversation to an extent, right?
Yeah. I mean, Fried and Crochet at the top of your rotation with Crawford and whoever else they back end it with is pretty good. Hawk.
So that's good. Ryan said, are the Angels an option? I mean, I could see them being in play for a starter.
They don't spend on starting pitching, though.
They haven't done it in the past. You always hear, I feel like this happened before, oh, well, this year's going to be different. But you got to convince Artie. You got to convince Artie Moreno that, Max Fried is worth whatever he's going to get, $180 million. And usually it's been a tough sell for the for the Angels owner to spend that kind of cash on a starting pitcher. He doesn't pitch. He doesn't play every day. He doesn't like that. Last one, Nathan. Corbin Burns is the most obvious Red Sox of all time.
Maybe just 15 years ago.
Yeah, Kratz, you played with him. Do you think that's the place that he wants to go? And also, I think there's going to be other places bidding just as much as Boston. But do you think Corbin would be happy in Boston? I don't. We brought him on this show many times. But if you had to guess, like, let's put money aside, where do you think Corbin Burns wants to play?
I mean, if you put money aside, the guy went all the way to free agency, and he's been one of the top 5 pitchers in the game. I feel like it's okay if he wants the most money, so that's hard for me to say. Where would he like to go? He wants to go to a place where they're going to win. That's it. So I think that takes Boston out of it as a free agent. You just don't know exactly what they're going to get with going to Boston. Are they going to be the team? I think he'll be fine anywhere. He's like a chameleon. He'll adapt to any city.
Okay. All right. Let's talk to Keith Law coming up next from The Athletic. We're going to go over some of his free agent predictions. Also, we'll get into the Fair Ball Act, which is going to get some more money in the pockets of minor leaguers. And I read a little bit about it and I got confused. So Keith is going to help and be smarter than me and explain things.
I mean, look, I'm just telling you what I learned in talking to a lot of people that are in the know with the player himself, who, by the way, is going to make the decision. He's not one of those players that's going to go where Wasserman and Joe Wolf, his agent, are going to send him. He's going to make his own call. But the sense I get from everyone is that the narrative of him going to the Dodgers, it's way more likely he signs elsewhere than he signs there. And I'm not saying at the end of the day, perhaps he changes his mind. Perhaps Ohtani and Yamamoto can convince him. But if based on what I'm hearing, I would say 85% chance he does not sign with the Dodgers. Erik, it's a great question, and it is hard. I've been there. I understand it's difficult because when you draft and develop, they become family to you. And you want them to win and succeed, and you want to win a championship with them. But there's 2 different jobs here, right? One job is collecting the talent, whether it be through the draft, international signings, trades, free agency. You could put all the talent together, but that's not the job of a GM. I've said it a long time, the job isn't to win trades or win a pick. It's to win world championships, putting a team together that wins. And I understand in Baltimore, you don't want to trade Kobe Mayo. You don't want to trade Jackson Holiday. You don't want to trade Colton Cowser or Heston Kjerstad or great. But do you want to win? Like, talent is great. But if you're going to have that much talent, you got to find a way to build a championship caliber team. You got to have a team that can pitch and play defense and put the ball in play and win baseball games. And, a lot of times it takes a GM years to learn it. I've had conversations with both Theo Epstein, the former 3-time world champion of the Red Sox and Cubs, and Alex Anthopoulos, who's won a world championship in Atlanta and been executive here in both leagues. I've talked to guys like Pat Gillick and John Schultz, who are Hall of Famers. And you have to learn quickly. It's okay if you make a bad trade or a bad draft pick, but you can't get personal with your players. You can't fall in love with a player and just say, well, I can't trade him. We drafted him. We're building all this. You can't be afraid to trade your best assets. One thing that Billy Beane always did in his years in Oakland, he was never afraid to trade his best prospect or his best player if it meant putting the best team on the field you possibly can do. Mike Elias has to learn that, and he has to learn it fast if he wants to bring another world championship to Baltimore.
Hey, it's the Athletics' Keith Law joining us right now. You got a full house here today, Keith. You got
I see.
Yeah, you got Pierzynski. All right. So thanks for coming on. Obviously, everyone listening and watching, check out Keith's work in the Athletic. Do you want to start there, or do you want to start with the with the legal stuff.
Oh no, we're starting there.
You want go ahead?
No,
then.
Scott wants your voting card revoked because you voted for Ollie Marmol for whatever third place in the manager of the year.
All right,
so that's why Scott wanted
let's
you
clear
on.
the board.
Don't let him fool you. He wanted you on to know why the heck you voted that way, and he wants your card revoked for voting, making that vote.
Keith, that's AJ. AJ was pissed at you about Marmol, and I'm pissed
I was
about
not. I love Ollie Marmol. He went to the same high school.
I'm pissed at the guy who picked Baldelli third. That's my big gripe from the manager of the year. And some people are like, don't pick on. I'm like, no, someone should have to explain why you go Baldelli third when it was like an epic collapse. But anyway, Marmol, why'd you pick him?
Okay, can I just point out, it is a third place vote.
Don't care. Don't care. Scott said you should lose your voting rights forever.
Everybody needs to go touch grass a little bit here. It's funny because Cardinal fans think he's terrible. And I'm like, his two best players, offensive players coming into the year, collapsed. And I thought he handled the bullpen extremely well. I think he deserves a good bit of credit for sticking with Mason Wynn early for his development over the course of the year, which was supposed to be Marmol's thing, right? You're supposed to be a development guy. And look, I don't think the whole Pythagorean record, that's not just straight up how you measure a manager. It's not nothing that they had a winning record despite getting outscored by like 40 runs on the season. Like, I'm willing to move the needle a little bit for that. I came down to him or Carlos Mendoza. Those were the two candidates. I don't think either was like, if you said, it should have been Mendoza over Marmol. Sure. I got no real argument there. You know, I thought the other candidates, when I dug down into them a bit more and talked to people who'd seen each of the clubs, which is the real challenge voting for this award, can't see every game with every team. You know, I got a lot of mixed reviews on Schilt or on Rob Thompson, who's probably the one I see the most because of where I live. Whereas Marmol, people who are around the club more were like, yeah, actually, he did a pretty good job with a lousy hand. It was not a great roster. Goldschmidt cratering and Arenado taking a step back really hurt that team. And it was an achievement just to get them over 500.
All right, look. Keith, watch.
Oh, this is my emotional support plan here, Keith.
Well, because there's no grass in here, and I don't get outside the studio enough, and we have to leave the window.
You touch the is that a fiddle leaf fig there?
See, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a fake plant.
It is fake, but it's not to me, Kratz.
Yeah, it's a fake.
Don't tell me how to see about my plant.
It doesn't get any sunlight. But, okay, well, good. No, I like
Neither
that.
do you. So, yeah.
Let's get straight to the Fair Ball Act, because this is a show that can definitely cover the hard hitting laws out there that are going to help minor leaguers. So can you explain this? We wanted to save this for you. Can you explain what's going on here and why it could actually be huge for a lot of players who don't get paid crap?
Right. I'm an expert because my name is Law.
True.
So this is to protect players, minor league players who, as you said, are paid nothing. There was a law passed a couple of years ago, it's probably about 5 years ago now, that exempted minor league players from minimum wage laws, because obviously they are paid on, if you go by an hourly basis, they are paid less than the federal minimum wage, which is not very high to begin with. And what this law would do is say that only applies if the players' salaries are collectively bargained. So now that the minor leaguers are represented by the Players Association, point to determine minor leaguers' salaries going forward. If that is not settled, or until a point when that is settled, then major league teams must pay minor leaguers at least the federal minimum wage. If this law passes, which it probably won't in the end. But that is the intent here, is saying you can pay less than minimum wage if it is part of a collective bargaining agreement. If not, if those players are denied that bargaining, then you must abide by federal minimum wage laws.
So does this just mean if this were to pass? I know you said most likely it won't. If this were to pass, is just that mean that major league owners will just cut more teams, cut more players, so they're still paying the same amount of money? That's what people don't understand. Like, ooh, minor leaguers are getting more. They play an extra month in AAA now than they used to. Mm-hmm. And there is 27% less players in the minor leagues, 27% less players getting an opportunity to make it to the big leagues?
I think everything you said is correct. I would add, I think they're going to try to cut minor league teams anyway. I keep hearing that they want to cut 1 and possibly 2 more levels of the minors, that Rob Manfred says we can just hand development over to college baseball. That's probably a whole separate segment and a whole nother discussion. Let's just say I don't agree with that point of view. I don't think you'll find a lot of player development people who are happy handing over development to the college ranks. But regardless of whether they have to pay minor leaguers more, Manfred and some of the people around him seem to just see the minor leagues as cost, not as a place where you're developing product, essentially. These players are the product when they get to the majors. That's where you should be making more investments. His mindset is, that's just costs. Money we don't have to spend. Let's roll it back. And that may end up being a big part of collective bargaining going forward. Now, you can't cut a bunch of minor league jobs without negotiating that with the union first.
All right, Keith, I have a couple things on this. Yes, I've also heard that they're talking about cutting some more minor league teams, like a whole nother level, possibly, like you just mentioned. So I have heard that. I haven't heard anybody confirm it, but I've had people that know some stuff say that same thing, which I think is awful, because I think you need more minor league teams instead of less, and instead they keep getting less and less and less. And college baseball is not the place you develop, because the college coach has to win first and foremost. He doesn't care if you develop. He's got to win the game. So that's a whole, like you said, we can go into a whole nother show about that. We can do hours upon that. But so if this law passes, this is my question. How do you put an hour thing on it? How do you put a minimum wage hour? Because guys get to the field at a certain time, different times. Guys leave the field at different times. So if I get there at 2 o'clock and my buddy down, my locker mate, gets there at 4 o'clock, do I get overtime because I was there 2 extra hours? Or if I stay an hour after the game, is there going to be a time clock, right? Ching. Everyone's going to be there 10 a.m. in the morning and leaving at 2 a.m. just to try to get those extra 4 hours, whatever it is, right? So to me, this doesn't make sense. I don't know how they would calculate it.
They would probably, now I'm just spitballing here, but they would probably have to say these are the mandatory hours. They play, it's 6 games a week in the minors. So they would probably say you've got to have 7 hours where you are required to be at the ballpark. And so that's probably 42 hours a week. That's just where I came up with that number, right? So you have to get there at 4, and the expectation is you'll be done at 11. And if you want to get there early by choice, that is your choice. And the facilities will be open, people can work with you, but you're not getting paid for that. They could negotiate some kind of mandatory overtime if you're there longer. If you have a double header and you have to be there for 12 hours, maybe that would be covered somewhere by federal overtime laws, not by collective bargaining. There is a lot of, this would be a heck of a lot easier, bless you, if they just collectively bargained it and said, that's your flat salary no matter what, because then they don't have to worry about the minimum wage laws. Both sides would have agreed, meaning they don't have to worry about the time clock. That is the way to avoid exactly the problem you're talking about. It's just both sides agree. This is the AAA salary. This is the AA salary. These are the minimums. Obviously, you can make more if you're a minor league free agent, but here are the minimums for each level. It doesn't matter if you're at the ballpark 45 hours or 60 hours. This is the salary you're making.
Is there a reason that Senator Durbin is presenting this bill?
He's been, he might be the only guy I could name. You know what? Him and Bernie Sanders are the two who have spoken out for player rights and particularly the minor leagues. I don't know if in Durbin's case, if he has minor league teams in his state that he's trying to protect, or if it is truly just a labor rights thing, which I think with Senator Sanders, very clearly, he is a labor rights advocate. But Durbin has been one of the only voices, I'd say, in the last 5 to 8 years who's come out pretty strongly against the contraction of the minor leagues and in favor of players' rights at the major and minor league levels. I couldn't tell you a whole lot else about Dick Durbin's politics. I just happen to align really well with him on this one. You got to pay the players more.
My question to you is, you're still doing draft stuff and college baseball stuff as you're doing this as well? All right, So coming up in the new year, who are a couple guys that are going to be on the radar here as we look forward to the college baseball season as well?
It's going to be an interesting draft because what I keep hearing is it's a good first round, but we don't have superstars at the top, which we've had a couple the last few years. I think the most famous name is Ethan Holiday. You may have heard of his brother or his father. Ethan is bigger, stronger than Jackson, but a different type of hitter, a little more swing and miss. And we've even seen that at some of the showcases that happened this summer. He's also a high school player. He's probably going to be the first high school player off the board. Even if he doesn't have a great spring, he's just kind of come in so far ahead of everyone else. And with so much of a history, people scouted him when they were seeing Jackson a couple of years ago. And then there's Jay Slaviolette at Texas A&M, who's probably stepped out as the top college position player so far, with a combination of performance, some tools, chance to stay in the middle of the diamond in the outfield, can run a bit, has some power, has just really produced against good competition the last few years. That said, when we go into a year without a clear star, or a clear little group of stars to go at the very top, that's an opportunity for someone to break out, high school or college. Someone comes out really strongly early in the season, they're going to run up everyone's boards, mine included, because all of the names I've heard so far are like, he'd be a nice pick in the top 10, but nobody like, this guy's going to be gone before our pick. No one is talking to me like that. They're saying we pick 6th and we've got 12 names so far because we have no idea who's actually going to be top 6 when the season starts, let alone when we get to the draft in July.
All right, let's get to your big free agent board now, Keith, and everyone can find it in The Athletic, but let's pick a couple names. I'll let you do it, right? That you've received the most feedback on, whether you've gotten a lot of, I like that fit, or I like that price, or of course, the trolls taking over the comments section of The Athletic, which, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when I need a good laugh, I go down there and just see what everyone's saying.
They all know better than we do, right? They spend their lives on the internet, and apparently that's how.
That's their job.
I mean, the guy I get asked the most about now, of course, is Roki Sasaki. I'm sure you guys have talked about him. Sounds like you were talking to Jim Bowden about him earlier. I mean, if I'm betting money, I think he goes to the Dodgers. Everyone's heard for years he just personally wants to be a Dodger. Obviously, the money's really limited there because he's classed as an amateur. The one thing I would add to all this that I think is a big question about him, the guy hasn't pitched that much the last 2 years. He's basically thrown half a season each of the last 2 years. Now, when he pitches, he's the best in Japan, among the best on the planet. 2 years ago, it was shoulder inflammation. I think last year it was an oblique strain. That's tough. Right? How do you value this guy? How do you think of him in terms of building your roster? Everybody wants him, but can you bank on him to go 30 and 180? Not that anybody goes 200 innings anymore, but can you bank on him as a number one starter who will handle that workload? I'll be very curious to see who ends up signing him, because it's a commitment to put him in the rotation right now, but then maybe you have to build some innings bulk around him in case he can't handle a full season's workload. Another guy I heard a lot about, Jeff Hoffman, who I'm pretty sure I had him ranked as the top reliever in the market. And I think the Phillies did an unbelievable job. I mean, he did too, obviously, but taking a guy who's a minor league free agent, I think he'd been released that spring, and turning him into one of the best relievers in the sport. Do you make him a starter? I've heard whispers of teams wanting to try him back as a starter again. Obviously, different pitch, different guy. He never had that breaking ball, that slider specifically when he was a starter. And so maybe he could try that again. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old and too risk averse. I feel like he's been really good in that short relief role. I would just love to keep him there and say, you're a 9th inning guy, you're an 8th inning guy, whatever you are, our high leverage, tight spot, he's absolutely the guy you want to have coming out of the bullpen. So I'll be curious to see if that affects his market. Do a couple teams come in and say, we'll let you start, which probably means he gets more money? Will someone else come in and say, all right, fine, we'll give you a longer deal to have you as a reliever, but we're going to keep you in that short-term role?
All right, let's relax. Bryce Harper was the one that found Jeff Hoffman when he came and threw to Bryce when he was rehabbing. The Phillies were like, oh, you like him? Okay, Bryce, that's cool. And then he just went on and dominated for 2 years.
I did not know. Did Bryce get a commission on that one?
Bryce has gotten he's got, that's why he went to him for the extension, but they said no, Hoffman wasn't worth it. But no, my question to you, you're talking about Roki Sasaki. It came up yesterday, I think, or the day before, when we were talking about Rookie of the Year stuff. Do you think, because you watch all these college guys, you see the draft, you're so locked in, should Roki Sasaki or anybody that's already played in a professional league be eligible for Rookie of the Year award?
I think no. Now, I vote for them. When I have the vote, I vote for them because those are the rules. But if you ask me to make the rules, those are major leagues. They may not be as good as our league, right? But the best players in Japan and the best players in Korea come over here, and they're great players here. So to me, I don't like counting them, especially when they're 28 or older. Yeah, they're technically first-year players here, but that's not comparable to a Ronald Acuna coming out of the minors, right? Or, or a Paul Skeens or a Jackson Churio or Jackson Merrill. They're not the same thing. So as long as those are the rules, I'll vote for those guys. But I've said forever and ever, I don't think they should be. I think I'd be fine giving them their own category, their own award, but they're not comparable to the kids actually coming out of the minors here.
Keith, just remember you lost all your votes according to Scott Braun after your.
I don't have any votes anymore. No,
so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. They're all gone.
I'm not mad at Keith. I'm legit. Wait, hold on. If you're gonna troll me again,
I'm not trolling you. That's what you said.
No,
Kratz,
I'm fine with
did
it.
he not say, "What the heck? We got to get Keith Law in here"? Why is he voting for Ollie Marmol third place?
No.
Believe it.
Lawrence Dow. That's who
him.
Scott wanted. You wanted Keith Law. You were pissed at Keith Law.
I love Ollie Marmol.
Oh, if only we could go back on replay.
Pierzynski.
Oh, wait, every show is available.
I
On
love
Throw the
Ollie
flag.
everywhere.
Throw the flag.
Yes. Wait, exactly. Challenge flag. Wait, fine. We'll do this real quick. Then you do your question. I mean, I don't think there's a case to be made for Rocco Baldelli. And I know Rocco, he's great, all that. But for anyone to put a vote down for the fourth place team in the American League Central in 2024 to have their manager receive that, I don't know what you're thinking. A team that was anticipated to be towards the top of the division. Yes, the Twins definitely smacked him and their fans in the face by deciding to scale back payroll, never doing anything at trade deadlines. But still, that's not how this should work in my mind. I personally have a hunch that it was sent in early because they get sent out in August. Some people, I didn't know this. Kratz made me aware of this. I checked it with someone. You can send it in early. I think a rule should be made where you can't send it in early, right? That sounds like an easy switch. Hey, you have to wait until September 30 or whatever the end date is because that person might have done that. And if they didn't and they have a logical explanation, I want to hear it. But they should come on the show and explain to me why Rocco Baldelli is the third best manager this year.
You can't. Yes, you could vote in August. That's when we first get it. There's about 6 weeks left in the season, and I don't because what if a guy gets hurt? What if everything can change?
Yeah.
The flip side is then I end up at some point in late September in a panic. Did I forget? Did I wait? Do I still have time? There's always that. I had this dream that it's October 5th and I forgot to vote for whatever award. That hasn't actually happened, but I understand someone sending it a little bit early. Sending it in August might be excessive.
Yes. All right, go ahead. You got
okay. Now that I'm allowed to ask my real question,
you got me. You got me.
Stop. You're done. You had your time. Okay. Give me one free agent and make it quick. That's going to get more money and longer, better contract than people expect.
Anthony Santander, and I think he might end up overpaid relative to what he produces. But I feel like he is not a well-known name at all. And he had 44 homers last year, 40 something, right? I mean, I got to September, and it's not like I don't see the Orioles. They're a good team. I live close. And all of a sudden I see some highlights, home run 38. Santander has 38 homers. It was the quietest 40-homer season I can think of. And I have a feeling, I think he's going to get paid. I think he's going to be one of those guys teams turn to. You miss out on Soto. You want a big bat. He's going to rise pretty quickly to the top of the next tier and might lead him to getting overpaid, but good for him. It's his one chance to get a big contract. I hope he gets it.
Seems like a good dude too. They loved him in Baltimore. I don't think he's coming back. Yeah, but man, they rallied around him. So all right, well, you got a little bit of everything, Keith. We went into laws, we went into prospects, draft, voting, the whole deal. So thanks for stopping by for the full menu, man. Good to see you again.
Anytime.
Appreciate you. Keith Law from The Athletic. Check out his work. Be right back. Here we are. Let me see what else we got. Army, do players really consider signing with SF in Toronto, or do they just use those teams to drive up the prices for the teams that they do want? I would say both. I mean, they do sign players, so both, right? Sometimes you use a team for leverage. Yeah.
Blake Snell, sign with them. Matt Chapman, sign with them.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jung Ho Lee, sign with them.
Yep.
Definitely.
Blue Jays have signed some dudes.
Blue Jays, Gosman, Bassett. I mean,
Yeah.
there's Kikuchi. There's a whole long list of guys.
Do those teams have to overpay sometimes, Todd Father? Yes, 2 reasons. One, those are the 2 highest tax rates, right? Number 1, I think, is Toronto. Number 2 is San Francisco, / California. Number 3 is the New York teams in terms of the tax rate. So literal money is not the same there because you have to pay tax against it. I'm sure you know, playing for the Mets and Yanks versus when you got paid by, like, who has lower taxes? Ohio than with the Reds, I'm assuming?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that matters. Plus, when you're going to Canada, you guys know it's tough for some of the families to suddenly ship everyone to another country. It's a literal another country. Like it can be a pain. So you usually have to pay an extra tax on top of that. And the Blue Jays know this, don't they, guys? I mean, they know this. So like Kratz, you played there. I've heard that they've got sick amenities because they're like, yo, we're going to make you feel really, really comfortable in your families and all of that. Is that true?
Look at Kratz's face.
They do the best. They do the best they can. If you're a free agent, they treat you like gold. If you're not a free agent, you have to grind some things out that like money can help fix. It's a lot easier to drive to the private airport that's right next to the stadium than all the way across traffic to get on a commercial flight and go through customs and everything. Like the private airport's easier for the guys who got some serious cash because families don't just necessarily stay in Toronto. Toronto as a city is immaculate, super clean, great place to live. But if your family's like, well, I want to go home, you're going to be gone for essentially the next 3 weeks. So I want to go home. That's not that simple. So when you get a little extra cash, when you get access to a PJ because of your contract, yes, those things become a little bit easier.
Boom. There you go. Good question. Hot corner next. Ken Rosenthal had his notes column put out there, and we are going to go through some of the reports from Kenny Ballgame. All right, let's sizzle. Ken Rosenthal wrote about Blake Snell and that he recently met with the Red Sox and the Dodgers. He said it's possible he'll also meet with other teams like the Orioles, Blue Jays, etc. But throwing that out there, I mean, I think he's going to try and get some work done pretty quickly.
So it's different, though, from last year. Remember last year? We're all playing the waiting game. This year, Blake Snell's like, Scott Boras, get me a deal quick because I don't want to go through what I went through last year.
No qualifying
100%.
No qualifying.
Yes.
Yeah, but the qualifying offer, I disagree with the qualifying. If you're Blake Snell, you're coming off the Cy Young, you got to give up a draft pick to sign the Cy Young winner.
Okay.
Like, to me, I'm tired of people saying the qualifying offer is holding it up. Bull malarkey. It shouldn't hold. For a guy like Blake Snell, now, if there's a guy that's a little bit closer to not a Cy Young winner,
sure,
then okay, it might a little bit, but you've got a chance to sign the best pitcher in the league. He's done it twice. That shouldn't stop you. For a guy you might draft out of high school, named, whoever that might never make it, like that's the dumbest reason I've ever heard in my life for a team not to sign a guy that is this quality.
It held some teams.
I know.
Back.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's
agreed.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm with you. And I think Blake Snell's like, yeah, I want to get this over with so I can enjoy my off season a little bit, even if he has to take a little pay, a few nickels here, a few nickels there. I mean, everywhere. Just get this deal done about where you want it, if that was him, and move on and enjoy the off season.
I think the Dodgers could be in play. I mean, Ken mentioned in his notes column that they made a late run at him before he signed with the Giants last spring. They also showed interest in him at the trade deadline. Why are you laughing?
Oh, just Todd.
Kratz,
That's all.
man, he's funny.
You guys are doing your stepbrother thing on the side while we're trying to talk business.
Well, we're trying to
going on here.
Talk about Blake Snell. Blake Snell giving Scott Boras memorandums where, hey, you know what? You got to go out and get me a deal right away. No.
Was that a word?
What was the word?
What? My IFB, it glitched. It glitched.
Reparandums?
Meparandums. Is that a Muppet word?
Meparandums?
We know it. He started laughing. He knew he was going to mess up.
I definitely messed up. I added like 2 words together. I meant to say mandates, and then I said a referendum, and then I just put a referendum. It was not my greatest moment.
No.
But right, you guys agree, right? This is like Blake Snell telling Scott Boras, I want this done quick.
Yeah.
I went through hell last year.
Yes.
I went through hell last year, didn't miss spring training. I missed spring training. I want to get on a team, and I want to know where I'm going, and let's get this done quickly. And quit messing around. Go get it done. And it looks like Boras is listening, to an extent at least.
Yeah. Wait, one more quick one. The part that I think is sneaky in the notes column, there's a lot of good notes in there, but the Cubs might want to trade Bellinger, but it's going to be difficult to do it. No crap. I mean, he's making $32.5 million on a 1 year, so it's always tough to make those trades. But I'm like, also, you don't want him back? I don't know. I think he could be a nice piece. I mean, they loved him to death 2 years ago, and it's not like he had a bad year. He just didn't have an exceptional year. I don't know. That situation's strange to me. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, to be continued on that front. I don't think he gets traded. I think teams will make it too complicated. With his contract, it's got to opt for the next year, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we'll come back and we will get to Hal Steinbrenner's comments about Aaron Boone. Do you love him? Or do you like, ooh, sign the man? Hey, MVP tonight, but we already talked about it and we know who's winning. So let's look back at Cy Young, first American League, the highest ticket that was placed and the highest handle, aka people were really throwing down on Tarik Skubal, and that was successful. He was the biggest liability because he was pretty good early on and he carried it the whole time. And by the time we got to the end of the season, he was minus 5,000. He was an absolute lock. Did you pick him preseason?
Mm-hmm. When we sat down in spring training, and he sat down next to me in Lakeland, I said, this dude's winning the Cy Young.
Wow, good for you.
And I thought I picked Sale too, but I'm just saying, I thought I got both of them before the season.
Did
but I don't
you
know.
really?
I think I did.
All right, we got to look back.
Because I said Sale's on revenge tour.
That's good.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I did.
All right, so let's go to Cy Young on the National League side, where the most bets were placed on Paul Skeens. The most money was placed on Chris Sale, and Skeens was the biggest liability for BetMGM's book, and the obviously closing odds leader was Sale at minus 3,000.
This is before the season?
No, the closing odds leader is the season ends. They close out when it sometimes actually it even closes out before the season ends, because it gets to a point where if it's so obvious, like Skubal's probably ended like September 15th or something, where it's like you can't bet on Skubal anymore. He's a lock. So anyway, that's how this works.
No, I would like to see the odds at the beginning of the year for both those guys.
I can get that figure for you, the opening odds. I can ask for those.
If you bet on them, I'm sure we have video of what it was.
Well, here I'll ask Claudia, our producer. She's got our guy behind the scenes.
Hold on, I can go right up to the guy here. I'm at the BetMGM. No.
You're at the book. Be like, hey, can you find out what the opening odds were? But Claudia, we'll ask.
What are the odds?
We'll send an email. We'll find out what Skubal and Sale were before the season began, and for everyone else,
rich.
Oh, yeah. Super rich. I'd have been almost able to afford a plane.
Your own plane?
Like a Southwest flight, or maybe a Spirit. I don't know. Spirit, probably not.
Yeah, it's pricey. Anyway, first bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet when you sign up for a new account and put at least $10 in there. And if the bet loses, that's when you get your bonus bets available once your initial wager is settled. Got to be a new user and use the code FOUL. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's continue this Aaron Boone Yankees saga that, in my mind, is getting kind of weird, but I don't know. Oh, good for you. GM and manager moved, and AJ is showing me a piece of paper that has his preseason picks for Skubal and Sale. Wow, that's good. All right.
Right there.
Claudia, I'm giving you more homework. Can we assign someone to go back to our preseason predictions, which I think were either the day of or the day before opening day, and get that clip for AJ, and we can run it I guess next week, so you're not on tomorrow. So anyway, let's get to
Also crushed MVPs, both MVPs. Sorry, and the rookie of the year
you
in
did
the
not
NL.
get the rookie of the years.
NL rookie of the year, Skeens.
Oh, you got Skeens.
But
Yeah.
AL, I did not get Heel. I had Miller. Who the hell was Miller? Mason Miller.
Oh, Mason Miller? Is that who you picked?
That's what the notes say. I got 5 out of 6 preseason. I want the crown, damn it. Todd, give me that crown.
You can have it. You can have it.
We gotta get the video. I
What
want
do
the
you mean?
video.
I didn't change my picks.
I don't
That's
know.
right there.
I don't know.
It is written. You think well,
I
in the
think you
break,
might
I was
have-
like, hurry up, let me
Yes.
write these down.
All right, we'll get the video just to make sure. But Todd Father, Hal Steinbrenner said he plans to discuss a potential Boone extension with Cashman in the near future. No huge rush to it, but I will have those discussions as to what we should do next. I'm sure they're going to do it, but I'm just like, the manager negotiations usually aren't that complicated. So I don't know. Why not just get it done? If you're saying you're going to keep him, those extensions often even happen during the season. I'm just like, I don't care. We've talked about lame duck status, all that, but just if you're saying you're going to keep him, I guarantee you if you call Booney right now and say, hey, here's the number, that they'll figure it out.
Was this somebody asking him a question and he answered it, or did he come out and say it? All right. Okay. So I have a different take on it then. It's like, I don't know. I mean, some questions, I guess they're, fishing a little bit, but I think the biggest thing is on Juan Soto. I wouldn't be talking. My answer would have been, hey, we, eventually we'll get to it. But my main concern is, getting a guy of Juan Soto caliber, and that's that. But I mean, if we're going to dive into this a little bit, Aaron Boone, he's been doing it, man. I know he did the year before. It was tough. I mean, I'm a what have you done for me lately guy. I've always have been. Getting to the World Series is no little thing. I mean, if you're a Yankee, they always talk about, World Series or bust. Yeah, I get it. But, this is really good what he did this year. I know he had a really good squad. Juan Soto helped out a lot. The bullpen, this and that, they came together. And, I mean, it's a discussion to be had for sure. He's a good manager, and I believe they'll figure something out.
Did you say they got to figure out Soto first? Do you know where he is?
I'm not sure. Do you know where he is?
I don't know. Anyone else know where Juan Soto is?
Is this going to be a segment every day, too? If we do that every day, I might just take a couple minutes off.
I love it. Love it.
Again, Hal spoke about him, so
we got to cover him.
We got to cover it. He said, I've got ears. So confirmed, owner of the Yankees has ears.
That's a good one. That's a big deal.
You said you wanted more definite. He gave us a definite yesterday.
He has ears?
The owner has ears.
Yeah, we know.
Okay, so he wants to know. He goes, I know what's expected of me. So look, it's been a priority. We wouldn't have gone out to the West Coast if it wasn't. Talking about how they recently met with Soto and now they wait.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Great. Obviously, you're going to go out to the West Coast and all.
Were they not going to meet with him?
Yeah.
He lives out in the West Coast. I thought he lived somewhere else.
Well, no, I think they're meeting in the LA area because that's where the Boris camp is. That's where Boris so they're having their whole meetings out there, which is fine. But I mean, they're waiting, Todd Father, for what? So to me, if they say they're waiting, does that mean they sent an offer in already?
Yeah, I hope so.
They be waiting? Yeah.
It's about darn time somebody makes an offer one way or another. I would love to see Scott Boras just come out, hey, if you're not going to do this year's in this amount, we're going to move on. Give me a call. You got 2 days. Let's go. I would love to see that, dude. Kratzy, the nickels will be flying left and right with cash funny flow, your favorite word in the world. But somebody's got to play it. Let's go, man.
I mean, maybe the Mets' $660 million offer was real. Maybe Carlos Baerga was right when he said it. And you know what? Hal shouldn't be negotiating with Booney. It's the offseason. Let the man go. Like, if it's going to get done, they're going to do it. The priorities should be, where will Juan go? Where will Hal go to meet with Juan? Like, I think it's one of those things that you can't play your card. I agree with Boris here. Boris can't say I won $700 million or $650 million because there might be somebody that's going to be like, we have all the extra money in our little piggy bank. We're going to give Juan $720 million. Then who looks silly? So nobody's playing their cards. Nobody.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Should we put that song up on Apple and Spotify and all those music platforms and just run it on repeat?
Please no.
AJ will hear me each morning coming to the studio.
Please no.
Like with
Windows
the
down.
hood on, trying to be all rocky in the morning and
please no.
And go in. Doom.
Dude.
Where will one go? Where will one go?
I can't believe that's taken on a life
Where
of its
will
own.
one go?
People love it.
Where
love
will
it.
one go?
Some people watch this show just to wait for that animated.
Sadly.
It's a great day for them.
I think the thing that you notice as an opposing manager, obviously the strategy is one thing. I learned a little bit more about these guys in the post-game comments, like how they handle the media, how they handle the big decisions, the non-decisions, how they keep their morale up through the media. I mean, our players read and listen to everything. So you want to be a good face and a good message sender, whether it's directly to them or with your post-game comments. And I think one thing that specifically Steven does that it's so authentic in how emotionally tied in he is with his players, and he's emotionally present with them. And I didn't know, I called him after he had a sort of an emotional post-game press conference about kid hit a homer and Naylor's out at second and he's celebrating. And I wanted to know the backstory behind what made him so emotional, and his ability to be vulnerable is, I always try to be this stoic dude. I'm pretty even keeled. I mean, I'm getting a little bit better and better at reacting to things. Like that camera's on you all the time. And like, you know that you're sort of being watched by everyone. It's hard to be, completely yourself in how you feel. And I love how Steven does that. Q's a tactician, man. Like he's, obviously he worked with Kevin Cash in Tampa, who I have a ton of respect for. He will work his way through like a lot of scenarios, and he's a little more unpredictable than he's given credit. I love that about him. So you look at other guys and see like, not only who they're working with, but what they're doing with their pieces and kind of put yourself in their shoes. I think this award is always unique. I mean, I've been in this grouping for a few times, and there are times I feel like, hey man, I did a really good job managing what I had or what I did, and then other years where I got a lot of attention, I was like, man, I still walk away thinking, you could do a lot better. I agree with what Buck said on the show last night, which is this is such an all-encompassing award because, a lot of what we do behind the scenes is never known except by coaches, players, and people in your organization. But it's hard to argue against any of the candidates that were up last night. I'm just super proud that the Tigers got back in the playoffs. We're going to get a big award, or watch our big boy get a big award tonight, and that's going to be incredible for the organization. And now the fun begins to try to get further and further.
Let's slap. And while you do Kratz, you can also tell us who's coming on the show on Monday.
Yeah, we won't get that vote wrong. Steven Vogt.
That's right.
My buddy finally going to make his FT debut. It's the Salvaceros. It's the Copa Diversión hat for the Scranton Rail Riders.
Beautiful.
The uniform is actually legit, too. Super
the colors
colorful.
are great. Yes, we got voter. We have Tommy Sajasi joining us tomorrow. Could be a big part of the future for the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals going through the youth movement a little bit. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what else I wanted to get to real quick? Did you know we missed a signing? I mean, we didn't miss it. It happened between yesterday's show and today's show. So I wanted to make sure we got it. Did you guys see a little Jacob Stallings return to the Colorado Rockies? You guys didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Twin.
1 year deal.
So 1 year, $2.5 million to Colorado, can make up to $3 million, and then there's an option for 2026. So the Rockies
good for him.
did a little thing. Yeah, nice dough for him. Man, it's crazy. Like, that's a guy who I called his games in the Cape League. You know, he went to UNC. It's been a minute. He's still going.
Mm-hmm.
He got called up when I got brought over to the Pirates. He got called up, and he bought his catching equipment. True story, from Dick's Sporting Goods, because he had no sponsorship, and he was in the big leagues just filling in. He's made a freaking awesome career and a lot of money.
He has
a gold glove, platinum glove.
He's made some dough. We haven't gotten him on, right?
No, he tried to last year, but it didn't happen. Let me wreck that album.
Tell him Scott Braun said he called your, only Cape League homer. Give him some joke or something.
We could talk about his dad. Yeah. How Joe Kim Noah almost punched his dad once. Talk about that too.
Wait, by the way, do you know the numbers he put up this past season?
Yeah, he had a good year.
118 OPS plus.
Does it count in Colorado though?
Yes. It's ballpark adjusted. That's why I said.
And he fell off a little bit
from everybody though.
810 OPS.
He fell off at the end though.
357 on base. Good for
great year.
Jacob Stallings had a great year.
Yeah, about a 2-win player. Man, good for him. All right, that's it for the TV crowd. We'll stay for a few minutes for the rest of the crowd watching us on YouTube right now. You can give us a little sub or also join the membership if you want the cool emojis and the other videos. But otherwise, if you missed anything too and you're watching on TV, you can find us in the app as well. And we'll see you on Friday. All right, Todd Father, give us the lowdown here. So are you going to tell anyone, or everyone really, because you're in front of people, a story tonight that might surprise them? Like, what do you think they'll try and ask you about?
About foul territory, first and foremost.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. No, I don't think there's any stories that I haven't, not told the Cincinnati faithful here. Maybe they'll have some fun questions to ask, and I think that I'm more intrigued about the questions they ask than what I have to say, because they all know the ins and outs of what I did here and the home run derby and the All-Star game and all that fun stuff. And there's a lot of stories to be told, man, in Cincinnati. Like I told you, this is my first love. I loved it here. I still do. Every time I come back, I get some love. I went to the Walgreens here and picked something up, and the guy's like, no way, it's the Top Father, and that kind of stuff, it makes your heart feel good. And, you've done something good to help the community out here too, on and off the field.
They're also going to give you one of those like, oh, we missed the Todd Father, Votto, Brandon Phillips. Who else were the big boys back then? Bruce, right?
Jay Bruce, yeah. Johnny Cueto, Homer Bailey, yep.
Cueto. You guys had good personalities on that
Travis
team.
Wood.
T. Wood.
He could swing a little, couldn't
he? Yeah, right-handed hitter.
Yeah.
Zach Kozar. Yeah, we had a good squad, man.
Dunner was gone already or no?
Dunner was gone.
I didn't play with him.
Oh, he was in Chicago.
Dunner was in Chicago with me.
Yeah. So because Dunn played with
Hannigan. Ryan
Hannigan. Yep.
Hannies. Bro, he's coaching the Williamsport minor league team.
Is he?
Oh, yeah?
Nice.
Right, something on my nose.
What was your last thing?
Something on my nose. Ken Griffey Jr.'s birthday today.
Oh, yeah?
And Sam Musial. So
should we go to his house?
We can.
He's close by. Should we go crash it?
He's not there, though. He moved.
Oh, he's not in that spot anymore?
He moved, yeah. He still has the house, but he moved.
Oh, that would have been a weird knock on the door for me.
Especially when no one answered.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not empty.
You gotta
Dodgers territory.
You got to get through the
coming
gate
up next.
first.
Yeah, I would not. I'm sure a dog would meet me at the door. Anyway, Dodgers territory coming up next. AJ back.
See you guys
next Monday
after Thanksgiving.
After
Happy
all
Thanksgiving,
the
everybody.
turkey stuff. Happy Thanksgiving early from AJ, Kratz, me, and Cam Maben tomorrow. And oh man, Todd Father, we'll see you Monday with I think you, me, and Kratz at the same desk if we don't fight the whole time.
Good. Let's go.
Have fun, dude.
Stay away from me, Erik.